Good morning, this is Rachel with Infused Meadows, and I'm going to make some candied jalapenos today, or this morning. So I thought maybe somebody out there would like to know at least how I do it. So I have my jalapenos that I just picked this morning, and they're already washed and ready to go. In here I have a flour sack towel that I'm going to bring to a bowl to sanitize, and then I will empty this pot, rinse out that cloth, and then I will fill this back up with water, at which point I will have my clean jars put in here, and I'll have this pot on to sanitize my jars. And then at that point I will bring you back so that you can see the process and know the recipe for basically making the candied jalapenos. I may not film like the whole thing, record the whole thing as far as canning goes, but I will walk you through that, okay? So, we'll be back. Okay, so, one thing I wanted to go over real quick. When you're canning, right, you want to wash everything. Everything will be sanitized. So, the reason that towel's in there is because I do have a steam canner, and I have a very big canning pot. But because of it's hot, and where I need to cook that, in order to do this with the camera to show anybody that might want to know how, I've boiled my cloth, and I'll be rinsing this out here in just a minute, and then my jars are going to sit on top of the cloth. That way they're not directly on the base of the pot, okay? But when you buy an actual canning pot, it comes with an insert that fits that pot. But the problem is that it doesn't fit this pot, because I did check. Next thing, always inspect your jars. If you see cracks, don't use that if you're going to be canning with it, because you risk it cracking or kind of exploding, and you'll have a mess, and hopefully you don't get hurt. Always take your finger and run it across the top of this, and you're feeling for any kind of cracks or chips, and that's because if this right here is cracked or chipped in any way, you will not get a proper seal with your lid. So always inspect your lids as well. For me, if I see chips, cracks in this coating, I won't use these. I'll use them for dry goods, which is where I'll either put a D on the back of this or an actual line. And you've probably seen that on some of my jars. And that's because that means that this particular jar is okay lid is okay to store dry goods into, but I wouldn't want to do like my pickles or put it under, any kind of pressure that's going to be for shelf storage with a liquid, because you risk basically as you're, I'm trying to put my words carefully. When you have it under your pressure, whether you're water bathing, steaming, or pressure canning, that liquid that's inside of this will come to a boil. If you have an opening in this, you're going to risk that once you have it sitting, it's going to start to rust, okay? And then that's going to fall off into your product. You don't want to do that. So always inspect this, and this should always be intact. The thicker, the better. I do prefer Ball. They are not sponsored, obviously. No, I'm not sponsored for anything. I'm just telling you what works for me. I've had some other popular ones that when I opened my canned good, one in particular, 6 months later, and it was so rusted on the inside, and there were no nicks, no cracks, no nothing in this coating, but it had somehow rusted. And then when I went through and I opened all of those particular products, and I believe that what I'm talking about right now was like my canned peaches, every single lid had rusted, and I had to throw out 24 pint jars of canned peaches because of that. So just be very careful who you trust, to buy from for your canning needs. So you'll wash your lids. I put mine in hot water. It's as hot as I can stand it. Obviously, that will be different for each one of us. And then I always inspect my jars. I look for any kind of cracks, chips, especially air bubbles, because if your air bubble is just right, then as you water bath or any kind of pressure that this jar is under, it can crack or shatter. And you don't want that. It's just sad that I've seen a lot of bad lately. So, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. So when you notice that my jars have pink on them, I actually have a color code. So pink means that it's okay to put things in and it can go under no pressure. But you know, it can have the lid and stuff on it and it's fine. And and it can take some heat, which is where you'll see me use those like for my sweetened condensed, right? But if you see red on my jars, red usually indicates that it's got some severe feathering into the glass. And that means it can't be put under any kind of pressure at all, because there is probably a 90% chance that glass will shatter. So the pink just means I could do I trusted enough to do when you do your tomatoes, right? You're going to cook your tomatoes, and then you don't necessarily have to water bath those. A lot of people don't. It's called open kettle canning. You can go research that. So a lot of things are actually open kettle canned, which is where your glass is hot, your product is hot, and then you're using the heat from everything to create that seal. Now, pink on my jars means that I would trust it to do that, but I wouldn't trust it to put it in a water bath or a steam canner or any other thing that creates basically pressure. Okay, and this will probably be a long video, so I apologize, but if anybody wants to follow this, I do not want you to try to do this, not know that you need to inspect your jars, not know that you need to inspect your lids, and then you end up with a failed product, or worse, you know, your glass cracking, breaking, and someone getting hurt. And I think that this is something that a lot of people that can forget about, is that those that don't know, they just don't know, and then when they end up with something that breaks, they're like, what happened? And I hope that this helps explain that part. Okay, so another thing. When you're canning, you will hear the term finger tight. Let me show you what this means. What it means is you take your jar and you'll take your very hot lid. Now, I will switch this water out probably 3 or 4 times while I'm waiting on my product, because I want my jar lids to be very, very hot. I use as hot a water as I possibly can, because I do have something that I can reach in and get these with. But right now, as you see, we are far from needing to get to that point. So you will put this on, and then you'll take your ring. And what it means is I'm going to turn this. See my jar turned? So now I'm going to grab my jar and I'm going to give it a half turn. Okay? That's finger tight. If you keep cranking this down, then when you put it under pressure, your lid can buckle. And now you've got your ingredients going all in your water and getting all over your other jars, and it will be a mess. And then you're going to be like, what happened? That's what happened. So it's just literally, when you get your turn, don't touch. It's turning, half turn, walk, that don't crank down, okay? The only time you want to go a little tighter, and it's not even a full turn, it's like 3/4, is if you're doing open kettle canning, which means you're not putting it under pressure, okay? Because this will still seal. It's about the heat here, the heat in your glass, and the heat here. It all comes together, and you will have that seal that you're after, okay? So I hope that this helps. I will bring you back when I'm actually ready to do everything else. But I wanted you to have just a quick rundown of this part of canning, because I would, like I said, really hate for somebody to try this and it fail and then want to know, well, what did I did wrong? That's what happens. And you have, like I said, you got a lot of people out there that sell jars. Always remember, and it took, I didn't know this until my mama told me, if it does not have wording on it that you can feel, then that means that technically that jar isn't really made to go into your freezer or under pressure. So when you have a jar that has no markings on it, that means that it's good for your dry goods, but not necessarily for pressure or freezing. That means that you risk that glass cracking or shattering, and we don't want that. So always look for the feel, okay? Or feel for the feel. You know what I mean. And that way, that will help you, okay? So, I think that that's basically the rundown, and then I'll bring you back. One last thing. You can get these on Amazon. They are perfect for washing your jars. I don't know what they're called. This one in particular, I don't quite advise because it does flex. So if you're doing a quart jar, this will, you know, it'll flex, which is not, it's no bueno. It's no good. But they do have better ones that don't quite flex. I don't have the name of them. Sorry, my water's running. But I wanted you to see that. And that way you can get into your quart jars, half-gallon jars, you know, in case you have a regular mouth. This will help you to clean those. Alright, I gotta wash my jars and get those into that pot, and we'll be back. So I have my jars in there. Let's see if you can see. I've got them turned on. Alright, next, what I do is I have this medium-ish size cutting board. The size does not matter. As long as your jars fit on there, that's all that matters. So what I'm going to do is I will try to bring this back over here when the time is right. But I'm going to set it right there, and I have a towel that I'm going to lay on that, and I will only cover the bottom with the rest of the towel on this side, so that when I set my jars on there, I will bring that towel over it. Because they're going to be so hot, you don't want cold air, especially if you have a window open or a fan going, hitting those really hot jars, because again, see, that can also cause a crack, a break, a shatter, and we don't want that. So I will get that ready. You also need to have ready your, let's do that. 1 second. You can get these canning kits on Amazon. I do recommend this one in particular. It comes with this right here. And so this grabs your jars out of your hot water. This is your funnel, and this works best on regular mouth or large mouth, which is why I like it. Plus, it tells you if you need to go to a 1/4 of an inch, a 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch on the top of your jar. It's marked right here. You'll learn after a while how to read that on the bands, because you can see this is smeared. That's how much it's been used. And this right here will pull those lids out for you in your extremely hot, probably boiling water. Okay. And then what we need is we need our vinegar. Okay. Don't use like 3% of vinegar. You want at least 5% acidity or higher. And what this is I'll have a paper towel. When my product goes into my jars, when I'm done, before I put my lid on my jar, I will take a paper towel, dip it into the vinegar, and then clean the rim of that jar. That will sanitize it, and to make sure that no bacteria gets, you know, that could have been sitting on that rim, gets into my product. Okay? I hope that this helps. We're going to keep going. I'm just going to keep saying that. I hope this helps, because I really do. So next, I have my jalapenos. I have 15. Technically, I need 20 for this, but I actually have more than that. What it is because you want 20 large, I do have some smaller ones in here. So I'm saying like these two makes 1 large. So I have 15 of these. I'm going to make it work. It is what it is. And what we're going to do is we will pop these tops off like I've shown you how to do in other videos. They just pull right off, okay? And then you're going to slice this into rings. And then from there, honestly, it's up to you if you want to keep the seeds, or if you want to get rid of the seeds, or if you want maybe half the seeds for this recipe. It's your candy, your candied jalapenos. You do it the way you want to. So I'm going to get these cut up, and then I'll be back to tell you what we're doing next. For anyone wondering, when I say rings, like that. Okay? So you're just going to, like I said, slice them into rings, put those into your bowl, and we'll get to those. If you don't want the seeds, then as you get to about your second or third ring, take your knife and just go around the inside carefully. And then just turn it on its side, give it a tap, seeds will fall right out. Okay? Hopefully that helps. I'm going to keep going. Also, if you're sensitive to heat, put gloves on. If you're not, be sure you always wash your hands. Be back. Okay. Peppers are cut up, as you see, and they're setting aside. What I'm adding to this pot is going to be 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. I think I have enough left in this jug, and it has the mother in it. I'm going to add 2 cups of white sugar, 2 cups of packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of, okay, I'm using I showed y'all this before. This is my own dehydrated, ground up peppers. It's just a mix of hot peppers that I've done. But use Aleppo powder, jalapeno powder. If you can find, you can use cayenne if you want it to be hotter. Just use a pepper powder, 1 teaspoon. Okay, I'm going to get this in. I'm going to try my best to keep this video at least around 20 minutes so everything won't be seen, but I can try to explain as best as possible. And so I'm going to get all this in here, get this on the pot. I want to get this on the stove. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my stove on to medium-high heat. I'm going to bring this up to a roaring boil. And in case you don't remember, that's where when you're stirring, you cannot knock that bowl down. Okay? That's when you want to set yourself a timer for 5 minutes, turn it down to a low simmer, and let that simmer for 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, you are going to add your peppers into the pot, and you want to set another timer for 5 minutes, and you're going to turn your heat back up to the medium high, and you want to bring this to a boil again, okay? And you're going to boil that for that 5 minutes. So once your boil starts, set your timer for 5 minutes. At the end of that 5 minutes, you are going to remove your peppers and go ahead and get those into your jars. But this, your liquid, you need to continue cooking for 7 more minutes, okay? At the end of that 7 minutes, you will fill your jars with your liquid. Now, I've got 3 jars in here, but I think this makes 2 pint jars or 1 quart. I haven't made this since the beginning, a couple weeks into the summer, when my plants were, in full swing. Now, because they're in a room like a greenhouse. So that's the only reason I was able to get the peppers off of them this morning. But anyway, so at the end of that 7 minutes I was telling you about, you'll fill your jars. And then what you'll do then is you'll move those to your steam canner or your water bath. Now remember, your jars have now set. The liquid will be hot. So you want the water in your steamer or your water bath to be as close to possible as that jar. Do not set those jars into a pot that have cold water in them, or you will break those jars and then you've wasted all of your time. Okay, so what I normally do is, as I'm filling, I'll fill my canner or my steamer with hot. I usually use a steam canner. I'll fill the bottom to where it tells you to go to with hot water, as hot as my tap will go, and then I put the lid on it, and I'll always turn my eye to low. So that way, because the liquid that's going to come out will be boiling hot by the time I get my lids and stuff on, it won't be as hot when it gets into the steamer. So they should be close to matching in temperature. And once you get those, your steam canner or your water bath up to a boil, start a timer. You're going to process those for 10 minutes. Okay? At the end of the 10 minutes, turn your heat off. Let them set for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then pull them out. Put them onto your, if you're doing like me, put them onto your cutting board that has a towel on it. Pull that towel across the top of them, okay? And then you're going to leave them. You can move them off your countertop to wherever, but try to be as careful as you can and let them set. You should hear the tink of them sealing within roughly 10 to 15 minutes. You should hear it. But let them go ahead and set for 24 hours. The next day, you're going to just pull on that lid. You should feel it sunk in, but go ahead and give it a little lift. The whole thing should come up. So what I do is I carefully lift, just a little, that way if the lid does release, the jar's not going to fall, tip over, and send things everywhere. If it didn't seal, then you can reprocess that jar. You need to do it that day. If you don't get it done that day, just put your jar into your refrigerator, and then just be sure you use it within a couple weeks. Okay? All right. I'm already pushing 20 minutes, so I'm hoping that I've explained it. But give me 1 second and I'll show you a done jar. So this is a done jar. Okay? I always put the year, because I know what's in this, I don't label it. But you be sure you label, okay? Just in case you're canning other things. But you can see, it's a beautiful jar. Most canned products will last you 5 years. Okay? Sometimes longer. If you hear that same tink in your can, wherever you keep your can and stuff, which needs to be in an area that does not get a lot of sunlight and is cool, it does not need to get hot in there because that will cause these to unseal. If you hear that tink and you know that you're not canning, then what you want to do is go to your canning area and go ahead and give everything that little gentle lift by that lid. Or I always do that to make sure, because sometimes you'll have a false seal. Because that sound is a jar releasing, whether your room got too hot, maybe you allowed too much sun in, and that could have caused it to release, because that will also, you know, sun hits, it warms things up. You know, that's just the way it goes. The same way that when you're laying out in the sun, or you step out in the beautiful sunlight, you know, you feel that nice warm kiss on your face, and it's just lovely. Well, it does the same thing to your jars, but the longer it's beating on it, you know, the warmer this gets, and that can cause this to release. When this releases, look at it. If you've caught it in time, you can put it straight in your refrigerator, and then just make sure that you use it within, you know, about a week or two. But if you see mold, you need to empty the contents and clean your jar really, really well. Okay? That's what I would do. Just so you know. You see mold, don't try to scrape it off and save it. It's done. Get rid of it. I'm sorry that this is at 21 minutes, but you can see what, you know, it should look like when you're done. Okay? And if there's any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I will answer. No worries there. I will answer as best as I can. And we always put the recipes down in that description box for anybody that wants it. So that way you're not trying to guess, well, what did she say or what did she do? It's there, okay? I hope that this helps. I hope that you all give this a try. It's a way, if you like, you know, if you like heat the way I do, this is a lovely treat. You can put this on your biscuits. Oh, I will make biscuits soon, because, I mean, who doesn't like a good biscuit with jelly or butter and jelly, or sausage biscuit, or our candied peppers? Oh, yeah. I find it delicious. You can also just put some of this on, like, pork chops. It's really good on a nice cooked pork chop. But anyway, okay, I'm making this too long, and yeah. I hope you make this. I hope you give it a try, and I hope you absolutely love it. Now, if you're somebody that does not like heat, don't make this. It ain't for you, okay? It ain't. Make it if you want to, and I hope that you do. And if you decide that you do make it and it's just not quite right for you, then, hey, I hope you find the recipe out there that is right for you. And as I always say, I hope that you have a wonderful day.